Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. My friends, I spotted someone on television a month ago who was very pretty, vivacious, and had a lot of passion, and she had a beautiful mission, and her name is Pastor Jacqueline Trout, better known as Jackie. And I am very happy to have her on with me today. I had a few people that knew who I was talking about. I got the email address, and here she is in a matter of a week. So welcome to Awaken the Dream.
Thank you so much.
And our conversation was still a little confused to me, but I just am here because we both have very interesting journeys, and I want to know about yours.
Okay.
And I'm not just nosy, I just think you have such vitality that I know you came from something and a lot of different dynamics, and because as we grow up, we move into our assignments.
Yes.
So where are you from?
Oh, I dropped from heaven.
All right, I'll take that.
Where am I originally from? I'm from Jamaica.
All right.
I was born and raised in Jamaica. Wonderful, beautiful, small island.
I'm jealous.
You haven't seen anything yet. Let's take you to Jamaica, and then just the food, I think. Being able to sit and cook the outdoors, I think also wood has this wonderful flavor when you cook with wood.
You do?
I remember once we had the opportunity to have lobster, and these guys, they went out, they got the lobsters fresh on the boat, and they came and they prepared it on the beach side. It was just fresh right from the ocean. It was wonderful.
With butter?
Oh, yes, with butter.
Well, what a lovely place to be raised. A big family, small family?
Family of 2 other siblings and mother and father. Yes.
Okay. And so what's island life like? I mean, is it like Nantucket?
Probably not. You can easily slip into being a tomboy and enjoy that. I think Tom Sawyer kind of brings it out if you wanted the American version.
So you don't have winter?
No, we don't.
Okay, so I'm trying to get this.
My coldest time would be about 70 degrees,
and
that would be extremely cold.
On a day like today, that's
yes, oh yes. So we have tropical flowers and everything going all year. And we create different atmospheres around Christmas, around Easter, around our independence, our celebration time. So it's always something you can do. You don't have, I think you don't have the benefit of snow where you have to live around that and create it. So you have the benefit of creating your world all the time with the natural beauty of the island.
So when you say tomboy, it's really you live outdoors.
Climb trees.
You live outdoors.
No. I think
I mean, I'm seeing
we had a neighbor that had a mango tree that was probably 50 feet tall, and these mangoes were delightful. And I can remember I had to race my brother and probably a few of his friends to the top of the tree to get mangoes. And if someone down at the bottom didn't want to come up because they were scared or something, they never got it. So you learned very quickly to go get your own mangoes.
But you had fun.
Oh, we had lots of fun.
Good sense of family, a lot of community.
Tons of community. We were really raised by the community. I remember, this is probably one of my little secrets, I remember wanting so badly to smoke a cigarette. I thought it was so cool to see women kind of just puff, throw the head back and just enjoy that. And I thought, oh, I would want to do that so badly. But I knew the day that I went into the store to purchase it, even if I had gone 50 miles away from home, somebody would say, isn't that Mr. Johnson's daughter? And before I got home, he would have wind of it, yes.
And it would cost you 25 cents.
No, no, it would cost me a whipping.
Oh my gosh. Strict parents?
No, culture.
No. Culture.
Culture. To use the whip was not a cruelty. I think it was understood that the child was reined in, and that was one of the ways it was done.
Okay. Parents, were they sort of the authority figure, would you say, as a team?
Not necessarily. The village was.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yes.
I like that. I do.
I get you this idea. I remember we have sugar canes in Jamaica, so it's flat land, and the sugar canes are able to be raised quite easily where I grew up. And at the end of the sugarcane season, the tractors would drive along the road and bring the sugarcane to the factory. So I learned very quickly to hop the tractors and pull out my own sugarcane. And I remember one evening when I got home, I couldn't explain why my clothes were so dirty from school, but my mother knew exactly what had happened.
She did?
Yes.
Oh, you have one of those mothers.
No, because someone had passed, seen us, doing what we had to do, and so the whole village was interested in our upbringing. The whole village knew.
So somebody would catch you if it weren't mom or dad.
Let me tell you, the whole village knew you. Yes.
Well, that sense of community, that was a very beautiful, warm.
Yes.
You must have felt very supported and loved by many.
No.
No. Oh, okay.
They were meddlesome. They were meddlers. I give you another one. There was this the pastor lived next door to us where I grew up. We didn't miss much. And there was this gentleman that lived at the pastor's house. And one day we were outside, I think it was summer, and we were playing ball in the yard because we weren't allowed to roam too much outside. So we were playing ball, my sister, my brother, and I, and the ball went on the rooftop. So we decided we were going to retrieve it. So we got the ladders and we got up on the rooftop, and then it dawned on us that this was a great place to play.
Oh dear.
So we were busy playing on the roof when the next door neighbor came and he saw us, and he promptly commanded us to come down and get over next door because he was going to give us a whipping. So he gave us a strict talking to, told us about the dangers of falling off the roof, getting cut, nails, all that kind of thing. And then he says, now go outside and get something that you want to be whipped with. So we went outside, my brother, my sister, we hung our heads, we went outside, and then I decided I would get a straw. And they got sticks or something like that. They got stuff. I went in and got a straw, and it was the laughing stock of the whole thing. So we never got a whipping for that.
The whole community knew.
Well, no,
was this the straw gig?
No. But we never got the whipping because of the straw, because I thought, if you want to whip me with something, I think this would be the perfect thing.
You are outsmarting your friends. Were you a handful?
So, yes.
I almost pick up on that.
Yes.
You're high energy.
Yeah, and you know what I noticed, Penelope? There are a lot of kids today that are quite misunderstood. Most of them have been slowed down or calmed down because someone has misunderstood them. And these days we have drugs to do it as well, which is kind of really sad because I knew at my age that there were things that I could have benefited from knowing that people thought, you're too young, we're not going to expose you to that. So I think, I think there were areas that people wanted to calm you down, slow you down, quiet you down a bit because they weren't ready for you.
Yeah.
But I managed.
Well, I think in this country we tend to pop a pill rather than breathe or meditate or use, anti-energy solutions, natural, holistic means.
Allow yourself to become creative.
We live very fast here.
Well,
so that's why I'm hearing this contrast to Jamaica. It doesn't sound speedy like we are.
No, but you live.
But you live.
You actually get to enjoy what a rose actually smells like. Because you could have a rose garden and just by passing by, you weren't in so much of a hurry or it wasn't winter and you had to rush in the car or, you could just pass by the rose gardens and smell them. And they were probably very frequent depending on if you were walking by your neighbor's house or something.
Do you realize what our friends are hearing from you today? Right now, this is a very big message to stop and smell the roses.
Yes.
And all of us need to be reminded of the speed that we go at and that there are alternatives. And we can do that here on Cape Cod. We can do it in New York City. We can find ways to calm down. I have to ask you this, on this journey, were your parents spiritual, religious people?
My parents were Christians.
Christians, okay.
Yes. I said I was born on the church bench.
Okay.
That's just my way of saying I grew up in church all my life. I grew up in church until I was probably about 18 years old.
Ah.
And at that point, I knew I did not want any more of this church business.
Ah.
It did not.
Okay, Pastor. That makes perfect sense.
It does. It did not do what it said it was supposed to do.
Okay.
And that didn't make sense to me. There were gaps, there were misunderstandings, there were people that you expected, expectations weren't fulfilled, people that you thought would love you, people you thought would care for you within this body of Christian believers that just didn't.
Didn't happen.
The biggest thing that I thought, though, was when you saw the contrast to what was taught and what was lived. I thought that was the hardest pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And when I got to probably about 12 years old, my sister and I, we staged a rebellion.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh dear.
We would go to church, but you know, by that time we were very smart.
Right.
We knew it all.
Of course.
We were probably smarter than the
Now,
pastors.
is the sister older, younger?
My sister is younger, but more vivacious than I am. You would probably, sometimes she calls me the little sister.
That's hard to believe.
No,
that she's...
you've got to understand. This is no normal thing we're talking.
So double trouble showed
yes,
up. Okay.
Yes. But we would concoct different scenarios to go to church and just be troublesome.
Yeah. Forget your offering.
Yes.
Not dressed right.
Not dressed properly. That was our first
Did you wear earrings?
Oh, we couldn't do that. You would go straight to hell. So there were a lot of things that were that we wanted to rebel about.
So you heard the teaching and you saw how it was lived, and you saw a big
gap.
Big gap.
Yes.
Okay.
And saying a big gap is a nice way of just minimizing what you actually felt in your heart. I think another thing that we're taught was never to question some things, or never to, you know, if you see something, don't point your finger, turn a blind eye, close your eyes and walk away. It doesn't exist.
Repress it.
Yes, repress
Deny
it.
it.
Yes.
Okay.
But we got to stages where we didn't want to deny that anymore, and our way of doing that was rebelling, because of course you really couldn't come outright and say, Mommy, I noticed that, and that's not right. So you found other ways of expressing ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
So we would go to church and we would snicker and we would laugh and we would just make a big deal out of it. And one day my mother took me outside and gave me a lesson. I won't tell you the lesson, but I never did it again.
I got it. Got it. Okay.
You got it.
I got it.
Okay.
Now, but they were pillars of the church by any chance?
My father was actually a pastor.
Okay.
So and they were really strict Christians. My mother lives here with me now. So
is your father still around?
My father died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But in the interest of time, let's move on to why I eventually became a pastor.
I'm picking up that you are rebelling. So
I did the whole mode of rebellion. However, one night I had a dream, and this was probably I was about 12 or 10 years old. And I remember in the dream I was walking away from church. I was walking down the road. There is one way, kind of like a one way out of the community. So I was walking away, and the way I was raised is that when church doors are open, I am in church. In fact, I lived right across the street from the church, and the pastor lived right across from me.
Okay.
So, you know, one of the things that was expected of us as children was to be in church the moment the doors opened.
Wow.
So to have that dream was very disturbing, but more disturbing than that was that I couldn't turn around to do what was natural to do. I couldn't go back to the church. I wanted to, in my heart, I wanted to go back, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
And there was like something that was propelling me. I kept moving away from it. And I woke up and I realized that there was going to come a time when I was going to walk away from this faith that I believed.
Yeah.
And I said to the Lord, because I trusted the Lord, don't get me wrong, I saw people. And I also knew that there was an experience with God himself.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said to the Lord, I said, please never let that happen to me. I don't want to be, you know, on a path where I'm pushed away from you, or, you know, I don't want that to happen. I want to retain God.
Yeah.
And
That's a perfect prayer. It is. This doesn't work, but I'm not leaving you and you're not leaving me, so.
Well, you know, Penelope, I think that a great misrepresentation of truth is often the reason why we make decisions that are erroneous. And I say it again, a misrepresentation of truth.
Yeah.
If I sit here and I tell you all about Jamaica and I tell you all the lies and you believe it, shame on me, but you have no way of correlating this information.
That's true.
Right.
I'm believing you. I'm sitting here totally believing everything you say.
Okay, but I think that the body of Christ has misrepresented who God is. And God is not to be blamed for that.
No.
And therefore, it is incumbent upon me, because of my life and because of the value of my life, to find out who God really is.
Yeah.
And then the misrepresentation has nothing to do with God or my life.
That's right.
It has now to become your responsibility.
It was a springboard.
Yes.
You sprang.
Yes.
And that was, those are always good lessons. Those
Yes.
are always good opportunities to find out who you are. If your soul is not
it's tugged in a direction.
Yeah, if it's not connecting.
Find out why am I being tugged in this direction.
Yes.
Find out why I feel it necessary to be pushed like this.
Yeah.
And is this beneficial for my life? Because, you know, one of the things we probably will all agree on is that one day it comes to an end.
Yeah.
And when it comes to an end, this is what I say, you don't want to be dead wrong.
That's very good.
You don't want to be dead.
I like that.
Yeah, you do not want to be dead wrong. And I will even go into the idea of reincarnation. And I remember when I began to write the book, one of the questions that I wanted to ask, or even as I evolved in my walk with the Lord, one of the questions I wanted to ask, if there is reincarnation, then there's a chance to do this all over again.
Yeah.
You know, and wouldn't that be wonderful? I think a lot of us want do-overs, they call it.
Yeah.
But when I think, or when I've listened to the stories of reincarnation, they are so uncertain.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are truly uncertain. There is no real, and it depends on who you're talking with, that you get another perspective on whether I'm going to come back as a child, as a monkey, as a dog, as a pig.
Yeah.
And I know that if I come back as a pig, there's no hope. There's no.
You're much better looking this time.
There's no, and then again, there's also the theory that if I don't do well now, there's also repercussions in reincarnation.
Yeah.
So I think everything lies here.
Yeah.
This is certain. You and I are right here now, and whether I want to call you a human, or I want to call you an anthropologist, or I want to call you a scientist, or whatever label I want to put on life or the things of life, we know that there's a certainty, that there's an intellectual connection that makes us know that we're here.
Yeah.
We're given this moment.
Yeah.
And this moment is precious. And, you know, we think of, it depends on when someone's watching this, we think of the killings of the little kids at Sandy Hook. And we know that that is not precious.
No.
We know there's something diabolically wrong there. Something went wrong. And we know we would not want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So even as we begin to evolve, and let's go back to our story again, because we could go all over the globe.
I want to get you off the island at some point.
You're
swimming off Jamaica because they threw you off the island.
Okay. Anyway, so I had that dream.
Yep.
Where were we? I had that dream. And about 10 years later, I forgot all about that. You know how life takes you down different roads.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that dream. And about 10 years later, I'd left home. This time, I didn't only think I was smart enough and know it all enough. I actually knew everything there was to know. So I left home and I went to make my fortune, if you want to term it that way.
Now, are you still on the island?
I'm still on the island.
Okay. All right.
I'm swimming though.
You're swimming. Okay. All right. All right.
And when I did, I stumbled into this home where I was going to ask for rental space, and there were two old women, and I want to call them old, not old as in age, but I want to call them old women. And they were having a Bible study. Now, you do understand, by this time, I'd been fed up, totally disgusted with everything that was church and this was opportunity.
And what did you walk into?
Opportunity to live life the way I knew it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And these women were having a Bible study, and the woman invited me in. And it was really strange. She was talking, and I was getting ready to excuse myself because there's no way on earth, in heaven, or wherever else that exists, I was going to be a part of this foolishness anymore.
Gotcha.
So she was talking, and my good manners, which were taught in Jamaica, told me to be quiet until she was finished. Then I would politely excuse myself and go in the opposite direction as far as I could possibly go. So she was talking, and then she got to this point, and it just struck in my ear. She says, "But Jackie, the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things that you're seeking will be added." I was in shock.
You got a head slap.
It was more than a head slap. Listen, when I told my father I was leaving home, he said, "But Miss Jackie, the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things that you're seeking will be added."
Yeah.
And ooh,
wow.
The floodgates were open and the tears began to pour out. And that dream I had 10 years ago, I didn't remember that dream, but that day, that dream was like I had it right then.
Yeah.
And I knew God was saying something. And I know that a lot of people says, "I've never heard God. I don't know what it's like to hear God." But I heard God that day.
Yeah.
I heard him in my dream. I heard him saying the same words out of two different persons' mouths that never knew each other. I was leaving home. That was what my father said. I was entering into my new life. It was like God was speaking through different persons in different ways.
That's the way it happens.
And I knew.
So what did you do next? This is becoming a great story.
I began to use these words: "God, I trust you. I trust you. God, I trust you. I trust you, Lord, I trust you." Because I never did.
Yeah.
I didn't trust God to take care of me. I didn't trust God to handle my life, manage my life. I didn't trust the church. I didn't trust anything that was religious. I thought I could do it on my own. Yeah. I knew I could manage quite well on my own, but I knew God had made a statement.
Yeah.
And in my heart, I wanted to listen. I had to listen because I knew that the end result, if I didn't, would be catastrophic.
You know, we have 5 minutes in this program, but it's not as though we can't, if we don't quite finish, we can't finish it in the next program. So just let's not feel, you know, because I don't want to miss.
Well, so let me tell you the end of that.
Because here you are now.
So I made a decision to do what I knew I had to do, serve the Lord.
Okay.
And serving the Lord means all my ideas, all the wonderful things that I was now going to try, all the things I'd never done, I now had to put those on hold in honor of the word that I have heard. Seek first his kingdom. All right. And so
where did you seek?
First I started reading the Bible. That woman that I met that day, that old woman, who's now a wonderful woman.
She's probably 30.
She would always say to me, "Oh, you're sitting there idle. Read the Bible. You have nothing to do. The devil finds work for idle hands. Read the word, read the word." So I got into the habit of reading the Bible, and as a result, I began to know it very well. And the more I began to know the word, the more I began to understand the character of God. And the gaps that I began to see, I saw them first in my own life. Those gaps I saw in the church. Yeah. It now became clear to me why those gaps existed. Yeah. And how, if I were going to make a difference, if I were truly going to serve the Lord, I would have to find the answers to those gaps. Yes. I think perhaps in the next session, unless you're going to tell me something about you.
No, we still have more time. Let's just, you can't be on this island because you're now here on Cape Cod, so I somehow have to get you off.
How did I get from there
Where did
to
you
here?
Did you go to seminary? What did...
3 years of actually reading the Bible, praying steadfastly. At one point, I decided to set a time with God. It was my date with God. And at nights, I would sit for an hour and talk to him, meditate, read the word, sing songs of God. And that just boosted my spiritual life in ways that I couldn't even begin to imagine.
That's a very intimate, precious way to do it.
Yes, it became intimate. Yeah. And 3 years later, I had the opportunity to go to college in Florida. The doors When I say supernaturally opened, they supernaturally opened. The criteria for going to college in Florida was way beyond my capacity, my resources, but all that was just handed to me. And when I mean handed to me, I finished college. I never paid a cent in tuitions. I got $2,400 or $540. It was 2,450 back or 2,540 back at the end of college. I never had to pay anything. Everything supernaturally opened for me. And it was 3 years of learning the word, praying, actually being intimate with God. And then the door supernaturally
So you swam
opened.
to Florida.
I did.
Put those water wings on and off you went.
I did.
We have 2 minutes, so we definitely, because I am having so much fun with you, and I'm loving, your story is so exciting, and it's so real, and it's so real.
Yes.
It's so real, and you're presenting yourself so beautifully on this program, and you are definitely awake in the dream.
Here you go.
You are just tingling all over. But so you came from that tradition, you saw the gap, you laughed at two messages coming between Dad and the old woman.
And the old woman.
And all of a sudden, you got the head slap. And
no, the waterworks.
The waterworks. Oh, don't you love the waterworks?
Yeah, I think crying is a cleansing.
I love it.
It's
so
such
good
a
for you.
cleansing. I think whenever you begin to weep before the Lord, you know you've entered His presence.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yes.
And things happen.
You have no control over the beauty that becomes involved in your life after that cleansing takes place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then life happens. All of a sudden, it's
the
like
beauty happens.
Yes, crooked roads straighten out.
Crooked roads become doors swing open.
Yeah.
Wonderful, glorious things happen.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a beautiful story of waking up.
Waking up.
Waking up.
I did wake up. We'll talk about that next time.
We will talk about that next time, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Pastor Jackie Trout.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, my friends, for joining us on the Wake in the Dream. We will talk to you next week.